The rise and fall of the Roman Empire. A long, slow, dramatic nap. Hey guys, tonight we're sinking back into some ancient drama, the kind that's been collecting dust for over 2 millennia and still somehow manages to be messier than a group chat breakup. So, if you're curled up in bed, lights dim, cat snoring next to you, phone on night mode, perfect, that's the vibe. We're going to gently drift back, way back, to the Roman Empire. Not the Colosseum gladiator here, Spartacus part. We're talking about the whole arc, the slow, chaotic, ego-fueled rise, and the even slower, wildly dysfunctional, bureaucracy-choked fall. And in between, a buffet of emperors who were either surprisingly boring or dramatically unhinged. So fluff your pillow, hydrate a little, and get ready for a soft tumble into ancient sandaled nonsense. Because Rome wasn't built in a day, but it definitely fell apart like it had a deadline. Let's begin. Rome, that scrappy little village by the Tiber River. Back in the 8th century BCE, it was just another one of those small, muddy settlements trying not to get eaten by Etruscans, Greeks, or their own internal drama. According to the founding myth, 2 brothers, Romulus and Remus, were raised by a she-wolf, which is exactly the kind of origin story you tell when you want your city to sound tough and wildly unbalanced. Romulus kills Remus in a petty argument over where to build the city walls, as one does, and ta-da, Rome is born. Sibling, rivalry level, empire starting. Now, early Rome was a monarchy. 7 kings, one after another, all vaguely legendary and mostly remembered through foggy, cobbled-together stories. The last one, Tarquin the Proud, was exactly what his name suggests. Proud, tyrannical, and not exactly known for chill leadership style. He gets kicked out after his son, Sextus Tarquinius, assaults a noblewoman named Lucretia, which triggers a political meltdown. Yes, Rome overthrew a monarchy because of a sex scandal, which honestly makes them one of the more relatable ancient civilizations. So in 509 BCE, they invent something new, a republic, sort of. Basically, power is now in the hands of a small elite who promise it's definitely not a monarchy, even though the consuls pretty much act like kings with term limits. This is where things get institutional. You get the Senate full of grumpy aristocrats in togas who spend most of their time arguing about land and taxes. You get consuls who are elected every year, usually from the same 2 or 3 families, and you get a lot of wars. Rome loved a war. Border wars, expansion wars, wars just to prove a point. If there was a hill to die on, Rome would take it and then send in engineers to pave it. And yet, for a while, it works. The Republic grows. They slowly absorb all the other Italian tribes, make strategic alliances, break them, make new ones, and build roads everywhere like they're trying to win a Roman version of SimCity. There's some awkwardness like when they keep enslaving people and excluding most of the population from political rights, but, you know, baby steps. Around the 3rd century BCE, they run into a bigger problem, Carthage. Let's glide over to the Punic Wars. Ah yes, Carthage, Rome's Mediterranean frenemy. Carthage was rich, seafaring, and founded by Phoenicians, so naturally, Rome hated them on sight. The First Punic War was basically one long naval accident, with both sides trying to outstubborn each other over who controlled Sicily. Spoiler, Rome wins, barely, mostly by building ships, losing them, rebuilding them, and repeating that until Carthage runs out of money and patience. The Second Punic War is where things get spicy. Enter Hannibal. Hannibal is Carthage's golden boy, smart, ruthless, and annoyingly good at winning. He decides to attack Rome by marching elephants over the Alps, which is objectively insane and also kind of iconic. Rome panics. Hannibal wins a lot of battles. The most famous is Cannae, where he basically annihilates a Roman army twice the size of his own. Classic overachiever energy. But here's the thing. Even though Hannibal was brilliant, he didn't bring siege weapons, so he couldn't actually take Rome. Just annoy it for like 15 years. Eventually, Rome sends a general named Scipio to attack Carthage directly. Hannibal has to go home, and Rome finally defeats him at the Battle of Zama. Hannibal survives, but spends the rest of his life being hunted down like a bad ex in a revenge poem. From there, Rome becomes a Mediterranean superpower. They've got Greece, North Africa, Spain, parts of the Middle East, and they start behaving like it, which means more taxation, more bureaucracy, and of course, more internal dysfunction. And now, the Republic starts to wobble. Let's float over to the late Republic era, where power is slowly slipping through the cracks, mostly into the hands of ambitious generals who realize that if you control the army, you basically control the state. And the Senate? Oh, the Senate is just there, pretending things are fine. This is where we meet the lads. First up, Gaius Marius, a military reformer who decides that, actually, Poor people can be soldiers. Revolutionary. Also convenient, because now soldiers are loyal to generals, not the state. Nothing could possibly go wrong with that. Then you get Lucius Cornelius Sulla, Rome's favorite fascist uncle. Sulla marches on Rome not once, but twice. Declares himself dictator, rewrites the Constitution, kills hundreds of his enemies, then retires to the countryside to write his memoirs. Very chill. Meanwhile, the economy's a mess. The provinces are restless. The Senate is out of touch. And into this glorious stew of dysfunction strolls the main character of the Roman soap opera, Julius Caesar. Let's take a slow breath here, because Caesar is a lot. He's charismatic. He's rich. He's in debt up to his eyeballs, but still throws the best parties. He climbs the ladder with alarming speed, becoming consul, governor, and then basically emperor. In all but name. His conquest of Gaul, brutal, effective, and full of dramatic writing, which he helpfully publishes like a humble brag travel blog. I came, I saw, I conquered, and also I committed light genocide, but don't worry about that. Eventually, the Senate realizes that maybe Caesar has too much power, but when they try to stop him, he crosses the Rubicon literally with his army and marches into Rome. Civil war breaks out. Caesar wins, declares himself dictator for life, and that life lasts exactly one March 15th before a bunch of senators stab him 23 times in a very crowded meeting. Because nothing says defense of the Republic like group murder in broad daylight. Now, we're into the real fall of the Republic. Caesar's death doesn't bring peace. It brings more chaos. There's a three-way power grab between Mark Antony, Marcus Lepidus, and Caesar's heir, the very anxious and slightly sickly Octavian, who later rebrands himself as Augustus because, apparently, branding was already a thing in 27 BCE. Lepidus gets sidelined early, no one really cared. Antony runs off to Egypt and gets thoroughly Cleopatra'd. Octavian wins the final civil war at the Battle of Actium and becomes the first official Roman emperor. The Republic is dead, the Senate is a rubber stamp, and Augustus very politely pretends it's still a democracy, and thus begins the Roman Empire. Let's pause here, just for a soft little sigh, because we've only just gotten started. Next up, we meet the emperors, the paranoid, the glamorous, the drooling, and the delightfully unfit.